Hey guys, this is Zantanman back here with another new video. Yes, the title and the thumbnail may confuse you that this is a gaming channel, Zantanman. So why I'm doing a C programming tutorial here. Basically, the channel I made was for my personal development and development of all others guys, but I intended to do several stuff in this channel, and that's why I'm making this tutorial. So this is gonna be a long series of C basics for beginners. It is going to be for beginners. For advanced level guys, there are other videos available. There are loads of videos available on YouTube. So programming, as we all know, is an asset for guys of this generation. Most of the guys find programming interesting, and even guys from other backgrounds such as from mechanical, electrical, programming is becoming more and more important for them. So in this video we are going to discuss about the C programming languages, which is one of the most basic and rudimentary programming language and in the Indian education system, at least, because in college most of the time we are taught C programming first and then we move to other programming languages. In some schools the syllabus differs, but I feel C is one of the most basic language to learn first because it's highly structured. So let us first go through about some concepts of C programming language, not concepts but his history. So I make some notes. Today we will not cover much, but we will cover the basics, absolute basics. So we'll write the first C code a programmer should write when he's learning the language. So as you know, C is a high level and general purpose programming language originally intended for writing system software, and C was developed at Bell Labs and AT&T Bell Labs actually, and by Dennis Ritchie in the early 1970s, 1971 or 2. And at that time C was a step ahead of other programming languages. You might have known that that time C was a huge deal because it can be used in several areas, in software development, in firmware development, and C has influence in several programming languages, and most importantly one of them is C++. C++ is widely based on C, and many concepts resemble C in C++. So this is the basics of C. Now not basics of C, the definition and the history. Then we shall move to the next thing, which is the advantages of C over other programming languages. So the first advantage is that it is a middle level programming language, so it can do both the job of a low level programming language and a high level programming languages. The tasks are quite hard to differentiate as what is low level programming language and high level programming language. But for the absolute beginner, you should remember this thing, that C can pretty much do both the things, a high level task and low level task in terms of programming. The second thing is it is very structured. So if you're making a large software, so you can break those things in smaller pieces, and we will learn about those. That is, we can break those in smaller functions and then cumulatively make the software, and it is quite easy for a programmer to write C other than several other languages are there when compared to several other languages. Nowadays obviously Python is far more superior in case of ease of writing, in terms of ease of writing. Another thing is C is case sensitive. So case sensitive thing is, suppose we have a variable NaMe where n is capital, and a variable small nme where n is small. Both the things are different here, though the two things are not equal or not equivalent. So the fourth advantage is that it can work on several applications such as games, graphics, complex mathematical calculations as well. We will learn about all those things later on. Fifth point is that it has a huge library. Many people feel that after the boom of Python and JavaScript and all that, these things are huge library, but originally C also has a very big library and several built-in functions. When compared to Python and JavaScript, we can say that they are far less, but actually it has loads of functions, and with the help of those functions you can write effective code and make your code quite good. The sixth advantages of C over other languages is that it is highly portable. So most of the compilers of C are available in every operating system, whether it is Windows, Mac OS, Linux. So it is highly portable. Now after these definitions are covered, we went to our notes. Now we shall write our first C program. So for that I'm going to use dev C++. It is a software, it's a C and C++ compiler actually, and it's free software and it's very good. I feel the best C and C++ compiler, at least in Windows. It's my opinion, so it's completely my opinion. We have to include the header file. So how to include the header file? For any C program you have to include this at least. That is, first of all write hash, then include, then this, and then inside this stdio.h. So in hashtag include is used as a preprocessor. So it's, and inside those brackets the stdio.h is actually a header file. The header file contains pre-built functions, and the stdio is the most common header file, and without that header file you can't do any stuff actually. The printf and the scanf functions, which is the printf function used for printing stuff and the scanf function is taking the input from the user, is in that function only. So if you don't have that header file, you just can't take the input or print the stuff on the screen. So, and hashtag include is a preprocessor, so it loads the header file before the compilation of the program even begins. Okay, so this is the first step of writing the C program. Now the next step. So there are several things in C programming. There are functions and different types of functions, void functions, int function. We will talk about those later on in the later videos. But now we have to write a function which is the main function. The main function contains the basics. So suppose you are doing addition, multiplication, anything, so you have to write the main function. Even if you write a separate function, suppose you write any function for factorial, then also you have to call that function. Yeah, it's going to be quite difficult to make you understand that what is a function, but keep in mind that you have to write the main function, which is the main. Its name is main, so it's very important. Without the main function, the C program wouldn't compile, it will give you errors. So how to write the main function? So basically you can write the main function in the beginning. I would suggest to write the int then main, like this, the first bracket main, after then int, after that space, and then main, first bracket opening, first bracket close. So you write it. Then what you have to do is give parenthesis. Yeah, I give parenthesis on the start and then I finish it because it's easier for me. So this block, what does it suggest? That anything you write should be enclosed within this blocks, within this block actually. So the main function block. So, and one more thing you have to write is return 0. So it's not mandatory, but I think several compilers needs you to write this return 0. We will learn about this, why are we returning 0 and what's the why we are writing int then main. So just remember one thing, that main function is very important. Without the main function, a C program wouldn't run. Now we shall move on to another new thing, that is writing our first C program. So as you all know, the memes in Facebook and all, the first C program or first of any programming requires you to print the word or the phrase hello world. So how can I print the phrase hello world in my that is printf. Printf is the function through which you print out stuff in the monitor or in the display. Without the printf function, you can't print the stuff. Okay, so even for addition, multiplication, suppose you are adding two integers, and to print the sum, you need to use the function printf. And printf, this function, it is written over in stdio.h. So if the header file is not there, the printf won't work, because how the printf function works, it's absolutely written in stdio.h file. Okay, as I already mentioned, the stdio.h file is very important, as it is the header file and it contains the basic functions. So printf hello world, how to, so the structure of printing, I am doing too fast. Structure of printing, first you have to write the function, that is printf, then the first brackets, then you have to start quotation first, and then write HELLO space WLDORD, and then end the quotation in the first bracket. So in this printf, the function, we write hello world inside this. Okay, and then you would think that yeah, the code is over, but no. To make it execute, you need to give a semicolon after this. Yeah, we will learn about why are we giving semicolon, because semicolon has a several functionality as well. Due to the semicolon, the compiler runs this as a statement, and then it's compiled. Without the semicolon, the compiler won't run it. So let us compile this. You can use Linux also for C programming. You can use Mac OS but in Windows, Dev C++ is quite easy to use and it's reliable. It works fast. And so compile. This is the option here. Compile. Compiling, we need to save the stuff. So let us save it as what should I save it as? First program. Yeah. Dot. So you can make it C++. The C++ .c++ will also work with C. So we are making a C file and desktop. First program, one name, and save. So after that, it is compiling, and as you can see, after compiling, we get the result, which is hello world. So hello world, it's printed. So this is the first ever C program which you wrote, hopefully, and you could understand the hello world program in C. Now after this, we shall move on to some basic data types. So there are 4 basic data types in C. Data types means, as you know, integer. Integer is a data type which is negative integers as well as positive integers. Float is a data type. Float in C, float data types. Suppose you have a value of 2.5, you can't keep that in an integer, because an integer should, as you know, the floating point data types has a different data type which is a float. Then in third position there comes char. A char contains a character. Anything, a letter A, a letter B, a letter C, a letter D, a letter small a, anything can be a character. Backslash can be a character. Anything can be a character. Then we come to the fourth data type, which is void. There are several other data types as well, and specifically void isn't used much as a data type, but we will use void later in function calling and function declaration, because we need void function. There are functions which wouldn't be possible without void. So these are the 4 basic data types in C. So after that, there are several data types as well. The long, there's double, there is signed int, there is unsigned int. We will discuss all those later, because as you go on with this video, you will learn about the basics and you are going to be well versed with the concept. So the rest of the data types are derived from these basic 4 data types. But one thing to keep in mind is the size. So an integer has a size of 2 bytes. So that is 8 bits, and for a basic integer you need to have 8 bits of memory. For float has a size of 4 bytes, which is about 16. Sorry, got that wrong. An integer has a size of 2 bytes, which is 16 bits. A float has a size of 4 bytes, which is 32 bits. A char has a size of 1 byte, which is the smallest of them all, and it has 8 bits. So this is the size. And void doesn't have a size, because void means null. Actually, void is empty. What we call void, it is resembles empty. So void doesn't have a size, but we will, as I already mentioned, that we will use void later. And it is mostly used in defining functions, which we will discuss later. And a char has a size of 1 byte. Again, float has a size of 4 bytes, and integer has a size of 2 bytes. So with these 4 basic data types, let us do a program. Okay, so what can we do? As you know, we have already learned about the first C program, which is hello world. Now what can we do? We shouldn't move too much ahead, because it's going to be difficult for you to catch up. So today we're going to see just a simple program of adding two integers. So adding two integers. So first of all, we need to take two input, the integer 1 and the integer 2, and then add those. So how to take an input, or how to declare an integer? So for that, you need to do is int, which first of all, what kind of data type are you using? That is int, that's the integer. And the variable name can be anything. It can be a, it can be b, it can be c, it can be a underscore b. A variable name is feasible. It can be a1, it can be a2, it can be anything. But for today we need only three integers, which is int a, int b, and int c. Yeah, don't confuse about the commas. So we can write this as int a, int b, and int c. And as you can clearly see, the semicolon is very important. Without the semicolon, a wouldn't be considered as a variable, because the semicolon is very much needed in C programming and holds a greater value. Yeah, in Python I know there is no semicolon, and people make jokes about semicolon in Python, that C has so much value of semicolon, but in Python there is hardly any value. But still, I would say semicolon is very much needed in C programming. So you have to keep in mind, after anything you have to give a semicolon. So int a, b, and c. So then the task is to take input. As I already mentioned, printf is for printing stuff, and for taking input we have another function which is scan, which is so scanf. First of all, we need to take the input of integer a. Okay, so let us do this like this. First of all, printf, we need to tell the machine, to not tell the machine, to tell the guy to give the input of integer a. So we will say enter the value of a. Okay, then we will /n. This is for this is a new line character. Basically it prints the thing in a new line. So suppose you are taking several printing lines, without the new line character is gonna be hard to decode. So what are you writing in this printf function? Then again the semicolon. After this, the printer enter the value of a. So we are telling the guy to give the value of a to the computer. So how to take the input? We will write another function which is scanf. Scanf, again first bracket. This is this is where you need to be a bit cautious. Scanf first bracket, again quotation, but to take the input we have to percentage sign and then d. For an integer input we need to do this, that is %d. It is an integer specifier, just telling the computer that you are taking an integer input. And after that, the quotation end, give a comma and give an ampersand. This is known as ampersand sign, and then the value in which you want to store your input, which is a, and again a semicolon. Okay, so just try to understand these two lines. Printf, enter the value of a. We're telling the guy, so you're programming, so whenever someone opens your program, you're telling the guy to enter the value of a, and after seeing that line, he enters the value from the keyboard, that is suppose a is 5 6, and this function takes the value from the keyboard and stores it in a, and where %d is a specifier, integer specifier, and which is without this the value wouldn't be stored. Then same thing, we need to take another value which is printf. Similarly, enter the value of b, and again the new line character 10 quotation ends, first bracket, semicolon, and just like this you have to scan it up. So again you're telling the guy to give the input of b. Now how to give the input of b? Take the input of b, again write the scanf function, %d, same just like the a function, just here you need to store the value in b, the variable b. So %b, bracket ends, comma. So this is the basic structure of taking an input, integer input. First the integer specifier, then after the quotation stops a comma, and then %a, so where the value should be stored, where in a variable. In this the value should be stored in a variable, and in this the value should be stored in b variable. Now we need to sum these two integers, to add these two integers, so that's why we have taken c. So as you know, in math, is basic maths, to add this we need to put the function as well, because the value of the summation, that is a plus b, is stored in c. So we need to print the value of c. So the value of c is an integer as well, so that's why we need to give this %d sign, again a comma, and the variable in which the a plus b is stored. Then we have to write, we don't need to use the ampersand in printf, that's why I only give the c. And yeah, we forgot one thing, that is the new line character c, and again a semicolon. That's it. So printf, the value of c is %d. It means the specifier here in this place, in place of %d, the value of c will come in. After I compile this program and run it, you will see it. So hopefully this is clear for you. Let us compile the program. So the program is telling me to enter the value of a, so I will enter the value of a as 10. Okay, 10, then enter, which means the value stored in the variable a. Then the program is telling me to enter the value of b. What should I type? We should type 5, and as you know 5, and the value of c is 15. Quite simply you made an addition function or program to add two integers. Yeah, it's very basic, and you might be guessing why the hello world is there, because we have kept the hello world statement already, so that's why the hello world is here. So quite simply we have added two integers. In the next video we are going to learn about several other operations, the increment operator, the decrement operator, we will learn about multiplication, subtraction, division, and at the end of the video, in the next video, we are going to design a calculator, which is a very interesting stuff to do, and quite a first project for anyone, and makes people very happy that you are designing a calculator for yourself. You can find the values of anything and which you wrote, the calculator which you wrote. So that's all for today's video. Hopefully it was quite interesting and easy for you to grasp. This is completely for beginners, for people who haven't touched C programming or anything before, or just new to programming, just in college, in school, and just starting programming. So this is completely for beginners. Hope you liked it. Please like and share the video if possible, and do subscribe to the channel Zantanman. And Dev C++ is available for free in Windows. So if I can, I will provide the link in the description. Please do subscribe the channel, like it, and share it as much as possible. That's all for today. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.